Alright, what's going on everyone? This is Zen Manga here and I hope you're having a great day. I'm just going to check the stream before we start our episode for our news, theories, and reviews. All of that good jam and stuff. Okay? But I hope everyone is having a good day and just being solid in general, right? For me the weather is 90 plus degrees, so it's pretty hot. If you see me sweating or my face looks shiny, because it's hot. It's really hot. Okay. Alright, so we're just gonna get started in a little bit, just double checking, making sure everything is good to go. Alright. Checking the sound. Yeah, sound is good. Alright, so I'm gonna bring down the music so we can start our episode. Alright everyone. So just beginning off, we're going to start off with a couple of things. First thing we're going to start on is a show named The Boys. So let me change up this picture so that you can see. I actually watched the first 6 episodes last night. My brother definitely put me on to the show in terms of just watching something that's new. I've heard about the show, but I wasn't too intrigued because I just thought it was just following the superhero trope. And it is in some degree. So it's it's a couple of things. So as you can see from this picture, we're following the story of a couple of characters. Number one, the 7, which is these 7 characters right here. Let me move my picture to the side so you can see. One is his name is Translucent. So if he looks invisible, it's because he's an invisible character, right? Just so that you're aware of the character. Let me bring up another picture just so that you could see, and then we'll kind of talk about the premise of the show itself, right? It's number one, it's a phenomenal show. So we have those superheroes, right, that we just saw, which is the 7, but we also have the boys right here, right? There's also one more character. So let me just move my picture down here so that we could properly see the characters. First episode is really invigorating and well done in the sense of you're bringing to this reality, right, of a realistic version, hyper realistic version of what if superheroes were kind of just doing their thing in the city, but also they're getting paid to do it. Basically their publicity, entertainment, figurines, collectibles, things of that nature, right? So it follows the story of the boys but also the superheroes. If we're looking at a couple of these characters, if you look up to the gentleman, I don't know all their names by heart yet, but looking at the character all the way to the right, we're introduced with him in the beginning of the story, him and his girlfriend. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, but we are immersed in one scene, right, that really makes you feel like this is not just a superhero show, right? It's gritty, it's dark, right? Kind of feels like a DC movie in terms of the color scheme, but it's really dark in the sense of there's a lot, right? There's a lot. There's blood. There's antics that come from a political scale, just on what should and should not happen on the superheroes end, and it's seemingly that all the superheroes, right, have some kind of story, but all of them are not good, right? So the boys are just trying to take out basically all the soups. And when they call soups, it's basically any kind of individual that has some kind of superpower. But in particular, they're focusing on the 7 itself. Now, throughout the story, you're going to meet certain characters. We don't start off with all these 4 boys, right, so to speak. And there's one more who joins the team a little bit later on. So the story is just phenomenal, I would say, in terms of if you're looking to kind of steer away from the DC and the Marvel and get into a show that kind of tells you what if this is, what if this was happening, that superheroes were getting paid to do pretty much everything, and in the background they're doing really just like bad things, right? So this is a really good show to watch and story, right? So go ahead and watch it. I haven't finished the full season yet, but definitely I would give the show a 8 out of 10. Now, usually I give 8 out of 10s because I'm kind of handpicking my news articles and also shows that I want to review. But I would definitely give this show an 8 out of 10 as of right now. up from episode 1 all the way to episode 6. Now, I'm pretty sure that it might get higher by the end of the episode, by the end of the season. I have about 2 more episodes out for the boys, but it's a really good show. I would encourage everyone to watch it if you're trying to just stay away from the regular superhero shows and getting into something that's dark, that's gritty, that tells a story about what superheroes do, kind of in the background, because on the premise you'll see a lot of the public eye is just like, yeah, superheroes, oh my goodness, they're the best, they're great, everything like that. But there's a lot more that goes into it, as you'll see when you watch the episode. So it's an Amazon show, premiere, so you can see that Amazon put a quite a bit of a budget into this show, and it's rivaling some of kind of the Netflix shows. So I'm eager to see where this is heading, and I believe that season 2 has already been greenlit because the show is it's good. It's not bad at all, right? If you're into superheroes and kind of like these dark themes, then this is definitely the show for you. Or if you're just into some kind of a drama, this is definitely a show for you as well. Okay, so bringing us back to our news, we're going to cover kind of some theories when it comes to House of X. Now, I know on many of the news, I have covered House of X probably every single news update in some kind of capacity or form, but I wanted to just, before Powers of X comes out tomorrow, which is the 31st, and you already know that I'm going to grab Powers of X, just to see. This story is intriguing to me, and the reason why it's intriguing to me is for a couple of reasons. So as I'm looking, I'm bringing up a picture, right? There's a lot of theories that are buzzing around that the X-Men that are presented as this reboot of the X-Men are not really the X-Men. That everything that we think is happening is not really happening, um, and I believe it to some type of degree. Number one, Professor X is not he's not displaying mannerisms as Professor X, and number two is the Krakoa. Krakoa is basically the sentient plant life being that is housing the House of X, right? Which is basically all the mutants, right? So the thing about Krakoa is Krakoa was introduced in Giant Size X-Men #1, and he or it, right, was deemed as a living planet, or not a living planet, a living island, right? Krakoa. So it's in a lot of ways, let me bring up the picture right here. So this is basically Krakoa, right? A lot of people don't know this. So a lot of people have forgotten that Krakoa was actually in Giant Size X-Men #1, like I mentioned before, but also came up many other times. Now, part of Krakoa's ability is just being a giant sized planet. But if we look on, I believe it's Excalibur #34 or 30, it's in the 30s, right? One of the Excalibur comic books. Now we're introduced to Krakoa again, right? Um, and one of the things that's interesting about the introduction of Krakoa again is that this is when Nightcrawler is basically going against it on his own, because he's stuck on the island. But one of the things that's interesting about Krakoa is that it has the ability to siphon off the DNA of others around it, right? Hmm, interesting. It has the ability to siphon off the DNA of others and thus replicate in it in pods. Now, in the beginning of House of X, we're introduced to this pod-like type of thing, right? So the question and the theory that a lot of people are having right now is, are the X-Men dormant somewhere else? And is this reminiscent of what happened in Giant Size X-Men #1, where the X-Men were captured, and these are just replicants that are just doing the bidding of Krakoa itself, right? It's hard, right, for me to kind of fathom that, but I think the direction that Hickman is going is for something that's brand new, and that's something that's going to shake what everyone's concept of the X-Men are again. I do believe that this is a reintroduction for a reintroduction. What I mean by that is that they're going to do something with Hickman is doing something right now to lead us to believe something, and then closer to the midway point, we're gonna be like, what just happened, right? So I'm interested to see where that goes. Another theory is that Professor X is not really Professor X. This one has me really thinking. Also the Krakoa one too, right? I do believe that this could be a combination of two things. It could be the Krakoa thing, and also that Professor X is not really Professor X, right? All right, I'm gonna bring up a picture, and you all are basically gonna see exactly what the buzz is all about. Okay? Now take a good look at Professor X in this picture, right? As he's presented in the House of X. Everyone see that picture? All right. Um, Couple things. Okay, he pretty much has on the helmet the whole entire run of the House of X. Number one. That could be for any reason. That doesn't have to be for anything. All right. Here's another picture of Professor X, and we know that this Professor X is actually he has the body of Fatamax, right? But his consciousness is in that body. We already knew that already from previous comic books, but did something else happen? And the reason being is look at his mannerisms, which is fine, cool, um, costume, chin, everything. But now look at this picture. This is a picture of the Maker, and the Maker is Reed Richards from an alternate universe, which is he hails from the Ultimate Universe, which was believed to be has gone through a demise, but I think there's some kind of resurrection of sorts. Now, the Maker is I kind of he tinkers with a lot of things, right? Um, and he has a lot of subtle plans, right? One of the things that I'm thinking about is Ultimates 1000, right? I love that comic book so much, Ultimates 1000, or is it 100? Uh, Basically, it's when the Ultimates do arrive and they have to go against some of the Ultimates arrive and they have to go against the main Marvel Ultimates, right? And from the 616, right? But the reason why I mention him is because he just tinkers with a lot of different just realities and just kind of like he does a lot of experimentation. Now, I wonder if part of this is just one big experimentation that he's utilizing Krakoa in order to move forward and to do whatever his plan is. I don't want to say his plan is to rule the earth or anything like that, because I think the Maker goes well beyond those kind of simple um, kind of plans, right? There's more of a philosophical, scientific level of what he's trying to achieve. So this could be what it is. He looks really similar, everyone, like really similar. Now, this could just be that his design is just similar, but I'm wondering why is his design that similar to the Maker, if anything. But anyway, back to the Krakoa thing. I'm just gonna go back to the theory again. The reason why the Krakoa theory is very plausible, is because there are certain characters that we see at the beginning of the story that are not showing um, their a couple of things. What they're wearing is very reminiscent to what they've worn in Giant Size X-Men #1, and it and if this is what's happening, if Krakoa is actually siphoning off DNA and then replicating some of the X-Men, it makes sense that, for example, moving this picture right here so you can see Jean Grey. Now, Jean Grey is wearing her original costume. Now, if this is the case, then it makes sense that the first time that Krakoa has siphoned her DNA, that he would replicate a version of the DNA or appearance of the original version, or the first time that he has encountered her, right? Krakoa has encountered her, which would be that. The second is Cyclops. Cyclops, we know that lost a eye. So if he lost an eye, how is it that he has two eyes back again in House of X? The the question is begged. Well, this is not the Cyclops that we know. This is not everyone that we know. That these are alternate versions of these characters. Another is one of the biggest things was, and I'm not going to bring up a picture of this, but Wolverine was shown to be playing with some kids near to Professor X, um, and he was kind of playing that kind of like daddy kind of playful type of character. Now, I'm not saying that Wolverine doesn't like kids, but he hasn't shown characteristics like that ever before in comic books. So it just deems some mighty questions, right? So I'm excited to see where this is heading, and I'm gonna do a review for Powers of X once I get it tomorrow. I'm gonna go out early to read that, but I'm also gonna talk about that later in the recommendation. So let me know what you think about those theories, and if you have any other theories regarding House of X and where that's heading in conjunction with Powers of X, because the two are simultaneously telling one gigantic story. So you can't just, I believe, I believe you need to get Powers of X, House of X, Powers of X, House of X, right? Or House of X, Powers of X, and then such forth, right? So we'll see. All right, everyone. So enough of me ranting about Powers X. I think you all who watch my channel know that I love the X-Men and I love the rebirth of where they're going, right? So we are gonna go to some collectibles now. As you see from the picture, from the title picture, this is Superman Black version. Which is kind of like his resurrection after his untimely death, which is just really him being in a stasis, right? Where his Kryptonian DNA can then go through the process of healing, right? So this is from Prime Studio #1. I'm gonna bring up another picture so you can see the full the full entirety of the actual. So this is pretty much like a statue. It's not, it doesn't have any articulation, but if you're into collectibles and figures, this is something that I would encourage you to get, right? For me personally, if the price is right, I would definitely get it, put it in my living room, and then just have it there, right? It looks well done. It looks like they put quite a bit of work, and I believe that it debuted in San Diego Comic Con, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, um, but it looks phenomenal in the sense of just that depiction of where the possibility of Superman could have went in the DC movie universe, right? All right, so let's get into my comic book picks of the week that I'm gonna pick up tomorrow. So these this is kind of like right before comic book day, which is on a Wednesday, and it's gonna be July 31st. Let's see all the comic books that I am gonna pick up for the week. So here we go. Number one, I am definitely gonna pick up Conan the Barbarian. Now, some of you who are following Conan know that this is just a gritty story, right? Overall, it's just gritty. It's just awesome. It's um, it's a hack and slash, right? Where you have some jokes in the sense of like Conan just he's not really making jokes. He's being very serious, but it's just funny to see him just his interaction between other characters. So I'm definitely gonna pick up this tomorrow. Next on my run tomorrow is going to be the Fantastic Four. Now, the reason why is this Fantastic Four? I believe it's just a comic book where we're gonna have a kind of a rematch between the Hulk and the Thing. I think that in this comic book they're probably gonna leave it off in a stalemate, but we know that probably Hulk is the one who should be winning that match, right? In terms of totality and power and strength. Next on my list that I'm going to pick up is Black Panther #14, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. If you're not following the story and you love Black Panther, you should be following it. The reason why is because there's Wakanda Prime and there's the intergalactic. There's a whole entire planet. In outer space, right, of Wakanda. So it's not called Wakanda. It's the name of the Panther God. I forgot it. It's off the top of my name, but it's a really good story. And then there's an interaction between Storm, and as we know, Storm and T'Challa were married at some point, and then they weren't married, and then let's find out some more. But it's a really good story overall. I'm not going to give too much hints into 1 through 13, but I want you to go out and read it so you can support the creators and support just the book in general, so more books like this can come out. All right, next on our list we have Marvels. Now I'm going to grab Marvels #1 just because of the artwork by Alex Ross. His artwork is phenomenal, and that's pretty much it. I did get the prologue last week, and it was pretty good. The story was really good to see the perspective from just someone who's seemingly just like us, with his family, and then seeing everything unfold as like banshees just like get out the way, and he screams, and then there's a sentinel on top of the building, and it's just really cool to see overall. So definitely check that out. I'm also gonna pick up the Batman Who Laughs, number 7, and I think this is the end of the miniseries, which was really good story. And basically, a quick recap is that the only way to beat the Batman Who Laughs is to become the Batman Who Laughs. So Bruce Wayne has to undergo kind of a transformation of injecting the I forgot the name of the virus. It's not a virus, but basically what makes the Joker turn other people into Joker-like beings, right? So he kind of undergoes that process and then actually becomes the Batman Who Laughs. And there's a lot more that goes into it. So definitely go out and check it. I will be checking it out tomorrow for sure. Next on our list, everyone, goes to. Oh, I definitely have to get this comic, and this goes to. This is another annual. I remember I had the last annual from last year, and that one had Robin, one of the Robins there. But this one is important because it reveals the fate of Bizarro and also Artemis. I've been following Red Hood and the Outlaw as one of my books that has got me back into comic books with as of 2017, 2018. And if you look on my comic book wall, I have like pretty much every single comic book for Red Hood and the Outlaw. I love this trinity of Bizarro, Artemis, and Red Hood. I think they're a quirky team that's just has good interaction. Some of the storylines that have to do with Bizarro were kind of like semi-emotional on the scale of just being awesome. Hey, what's going on, Justarique? And shout out to you, my brother. Thank you for just stopping by, and hopefully you watch this episode later. Just doing some my picks for tomorrow's comic book day. What I'm gonna pick up tomorrow. So definitely go out and check out Red Hood and Outlaw Annual number 3. It's going to be really awesome. Well, I hope it's going to be awesome. Next on my list that I'm going to pick up tomorrow is. I just think this is really interesting. Udon Comics is coming out with a Street Fighter comic book, which is Akuma versus Hell, and I I'm just really excited to see what this might be. And the reason why I'm interested about the Akuma versus Hell comic book is because I remember reading the comic book. Now it wasn't by Udon Comics, but it was Godzilla in Hell comic book, and it was a really good comic book. It was just a good one-off book that I enjoyed. So I'm hoping that um, Akuma in Hell or versus Hell will be something that's interesting. It might just be a one-off. It says number 1, but a lot of comic book companies they like to do just number 1 so that everyone could get the number 1 comic book. So hopefully it's really good, and I'm interested to see where it's gonna go when I do my reviews at a later time. Um, Next on our list, and I think this is the final comic book for the week that I am gonna go pick up, goes to you all know is Powers of X. I'm picking up Powers of X tomorrow. Uh, this is not the variant cover that I'm going to go for, but I just wanted to put it up so you weren't confused when I put up the first picture. I'm going to go for this variant. Uh, it's very nostalgic to uh, to a lot of things, right? Just kind of like the original version of the Xmen that you see Beast, you see Angel, you see Jean, uh, uh, you see Cyclops, of course, my boy Cyclops, right? You all know that's my favorite superhero, uh, and a couple other things that just represent the Savage Land, right? And here's the thing: the representation of the Savage Land and the X-Men is only it only further in a variant cover alone only furthers my thinking that certain theories about Krakoa and its involvement with the X-Men and replication of the X-Men is becoming more and more real in my head. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for a couple other comic books. So let's just do a quick rundown of everything we talked about so far. So I'm gonna go back to our title screen, right? Title screen feels like a PlayStation video game. I should do some reviews on games too and include it in our segment, but Here we go. Let me make this picture a little bit smaller. See my picture, my face double time, right? All right, so we have The Boys. So go out and watch The Boys. It's a Amazon original, and it has the whole entire season on Amazon. It's a really good show. It's about certain individuals who are going against supes who are deemed as superheroes or anyone who has superpowers, but really it's about them going against a seven, which it is a trope for the Justice League, but in no way, shape, or form is this show um, anything comedic, right? It's nothing about comedic. It's all about what would it be if superheroes had powers, but they are doing it for money, publicity, and pretty much everything. What are the things that they're going to do or have to do in order to keep their status up, right? To keep the status quo, right? And the boys are basically not for that. We are privy to an amazing episode number one, which is pretty lengthy. And you see death, you see blood, you see gore, you see sex, you see a lot of different things that would make you feel like, yep, this show is pretty dark. This is not just your regular superhero show. So go out and watch it, check it out. It's really good. Second, we then talked about different theories um, revolving around the House of X, which is Krakoa is one of the theories is Krakoa has repopulated the Xmen, and the Xmen are somewhere else, but those are not the Xmen that we are introduced to in House of X number one. So that's big. The second theory that had to do with that is that Professor X is really actually the maker, which is an alternate version of Reed Richards from another universe, which is the Ultimate Universe. And this Professor X is not really him. Um, some of my theories about that is that it could be a combination of the two, right? That the maker is actually utilizing Krakoa, which is a sentient plant life being, in order to come up with some kind of plan. What is the plan? Actually, I don't know, right? I believe that it's more than just world domination, but it's actually something that could span on a grandiose scale, right? Now, planetary scale is already grandiose, but the maker has been seen to do things that expand beyond one planet itself, but actually in a universal scale. So um, some of the collectibles is this Superman that we already this black Superman, which is uh, his post healing state after his fight with Doomsday, right? So this is him after that. Then we kind of went down the list of comic books that I'm going to get, which includes Intergalactic um, Planet of Wakanda, Empire of Wakanda, which is Black Panther. I'm definitely going to get Marvels because Alex Ross is amazing. Just artist in general. So I just would love to have his book in my collection and put it up on my comic book wall. I'm definitely going to get Conan. Conan is just a really good hack and slash. I'm not really reading it for the story. Now the story does drive it a little bit, but just for some gore, I love to see Conan's interactions with other characters. Uh, you all know that I'm going to pick up basically this comic book that has the Thing versus the Hulk, because it's kind of like the rematch of the century type of thing. So I want to see it and to see where that goes. It's kind of a one-off. I'm definitely going to get Udon's comic of Akuma versus Hell. I want to see what that's about, where that is going to go. But I believe it's just going to be a fun comic book, just like the Conan comic books. It's going to be fun to see Akuma versus Hell and what that really entails, and who are the characters that are going to pop up in Hell in order for him to go against, right? Because Hell is prescribed as like an entirety of a dimension of sorts, right? So what does it look like for him? And definitely I am going to pick up Powers of X tomorrow. Excited for Powers of X because you all know that I am excited for everything that was when it comes to House of X so far. So I'm definitely gonna. My brain is constantly rattling about what's happening because the story is just intriguing so far, and maybe that could be a lot of nostalgia popping up in my head, and also a little bit of bias because I love the X-Men, but until House of X, the stories haven't been so good, right? Even though the last story arc wasn't too bad, um, with Cyclops coming back from the dead and teaming up with Wolverine and then getting a new team. Thought it was actually pretty stellar. But I know Powers of X was already predetermined to. It's kind of like the ascension, the it's kind of like God coming back, right? So Hickman has a lot of work to do. And the last two comic books that I'm definitely going to pick up is Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual #3, and also #7 when it comes to Batman, the Batman Who Laughs, #7, right? It's going to be exciting. It's going to be good. All right. So everyone, I hope you enjoy this episode. And, I hope some of this was intriguing for you to go get, to think about, or just in general, everything like that. I don't have any manga recommendations for this episode, but hopefully next time I'm going to have some manga recommendations and some other types of reviews. So I'm probably going to have some video game reviews too, but I'm going to focus on just kind of like indie games and also horror games itself, or anything related to comic book related video games. I'll definitely add it into um, the reviews, theories, and news video for episode 8. So anyway, with that being said, let's close out our episode. And here we go. This is Zen Manga saying, have a great day. Be awesome. If you're enjoying my content, please give me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm coming out with videos. For the most part, I'm going to do live segments when it comes to the news. Because it's easier for me to bring up images and things of that nature, just being super honest and going forward with the editing process. But definitely give me a like, subscribe, share the video with your friends and family and colleagues if they're interested in the comic books and just anything related to collectibles, movies, and show reviews, right? And the reason being is because I definitely want to grow the community. Shout out to all the new subscribers. We hit 160 subscribers so far. And I want to definitely keep going, right? It's not something where I just want to stop, and it's not for the purpose of getting rich, but if it's for the purpose of bringing a genuine Zen community together, which is wholesome, kind, good, but can jam out and talk. If there are segments that you'd like me to include on future videos, please do that. I already took a recommendation to add in more comic books into more comic books. So what comic books am I looking forward to? And that's why I included it into this video. So if you want a specific segment to be included into future videos, please let me know and I'll try my best to include it into the video. With that being said, this is Zen Manga saying peace, love, prosperity. Take care, everyone. Don't forget